And I personally cannot stomach, a few people, probably 10 or 20 people, taking 55 million Kenyans captive. I won't take it. No, it won't happen when I'm alive. And so the first thing I would say is we have no shortage of knowledge and information. We have the history, some of it correct, some of it wrong. For example, we can't say that Kenyatta Senior really gave us independence. Kenyatta betrayed us and sold us to the British. And so we did not get full independence. Even when we come to the Kibaki era, we know that we got a good deal in an economist, and Kibaki did his job well to bring Kenya to a place where we can talk about economic recovery. But Kibaki's era was, draped with Anglo-leasing. People like Githongo's lives were at stake because they exposed the rot in Kibaki's government. There was a lot of betrayal. You sign agreements that are not honored. That's why ODM bolted out. So you had the post-election violence. You had the disputed election that had Kivuitu, in fact, lose his life eventually because of, depression and all of that. So you can't say that we got the deal. In fact, when Kenyatta came to office, he said that we had three enemies. That is poverty, ignorance, and disease. Unfortunately, we still have those right now. And we have been added two more on the minimum. We have been added corruption and impunity in one box. And then we have also been added debt. Public debt, money borrowed in our name without our permission. And so we have five main problems now to deal with. And so Uhuru and Ruto, let's just call it the Uhuruto regime that has been in place for now about 12 years, comes into power on the basis of escaping ICC. Now, that was the uniting factor. Now, we don't talk much about how Uhuru and Ruto came to power once again in a rogue way, because they united to evade the rule of law. They were fleeing the ICC. And so for anyone to, get these people out, we would have to regroup. But yes, I agree with those who say we need a fresh start. People who have not been in government but have a reputation of succeeding in other places and or are professionals of character. That's why I insist on character-driven leadership. Now, for where we are, I think there is something we must not forget, especially as those wanting the fourth liberation. I call it the fourth because the Constitution of 2010 becomes our third. And so this particular economic liberation, there are things we must never forget. Number one, we have lost lives right from independence. People like JM, people like Ouko, people like Muge, have been killed because people wanted power. People like Matiba and Rubia were tortured. My friend Bidan Bugwa, and the rest were traumatized. And people have suffered, Musando and the rest. And it is actually very insulting to me, and we must never lose sight of this, that the government, for example, is ready to sanitize their proxy in the Kware killings. I mean, this entire thing about the police being able to release those guys to leave jail is a hoax. And so instead of actually spending money and time dealing with the missing persons and the abductions. I mean, Kenyans have been abducted. If you criticize this government, you get abducted. Some of my team members have been abducted. I've sometimes had to hide. I mean, you all know I'm a very easy target, but I've had to hide because this government is vicious. If you don't agree with them, if you challenge them, you could die. And so, is this what we fought for? This is not independence. And I don't think we are angry enough to realize that a lot of young people last year in the demonstrations and this year, even families that don't know where their loved ones are, it's like dancing on the graves of people and just saying we'll do whatever we want. Impunity cannot be allowed. And so I'll just say this. Besides regrouping, and some kind of regrouping is critical, we really must pick up the pieces. The issue of reintroducing some of those clauses in the finance bill is just a smokescreen. The real thing is about buying time to see what else you can do. And Gen Zs, I don't think social media is the only place to regroup, because when we announce everything we want to do on social media, of course they will come for us, and or they'll scatter or just introduce that brute force. So we need to find another way of communicating our plans. Even guerrilla warfare is really guerrilla because the enemy does not know when you'll pounce. But I challenge those of you that are union leaders or no union leaders that are suffering, the hoteliers, the teachers, the doctors, the nurses, even the airport workers and so on. Dear me, let's talk about how we can come together and have another language that we can talk. I really think that we must really stop playing games with the lives of people, because the lives of people are sacrosanct. And I must say that especially for the professionals and the middle class, we may treat the Gen Zs as victims, but sooner or later, there will be something much worse than the slashing of your payslip. If you talk in the office against this government, they'll come for you. If you post something on social media that is against the government, they'll come for you. So we have to come to a point where we say we unite or stay divided and perish. And so every effort, and I know it is harder for leaders or those that want to be in office to come together because of egoism and all of that. I think we must really bury our differences and accept to lose in order to gain some of the things. But coming together, we really must. Divide and rule is real. It's not like I disagree with what TG was saying. I just think that if we took the long shot of having, like a long-term approach to this particular transition, then we will actually take the air off the Gen Zs, where, some of the millennials and, the boomers keep telling the young people that they are leaders of tomorrow. I totally disagree with that because, the TGs and the Gitobi Manyaras and the Shikukus and the Odingas that made a difference did so when they were young. And so the young people need to organize and actually formulate a very strong force in a particular movement that can now engage government. I think that is critical. Now, the second thing I'll say is there is often the assumption that if you've never been in government in this country, that you don't know about government and or that you do not have the kind of experience that it takes to run for public office. That's what I've been told for so long. I mean, I ran for Vihiga gubernatorial seat in 2013 when the devolution was new. I was told, that you can't run a county and so on. And nobody had run the county at that point. There was no experience of running a county. It was really about your ideology and how you organize. Now, in 2022, I was told you don't have the experience to be able to mount a presidential candidature and or lead a country. And I retort and say, actually, if by experience we mean the kind of things our leaders have been doing, then I don't want any of that experience. Absolutely, I don't want any of that. We need to reboot this country along the issues that the Gen Zs were raising, and just knock out everyone who wants to take us back to the mold. We want a new start, and so my concern would be why the state, for example, is delaying the issuance of IDs to the young people. Why the state is playing around with IBC and reducing it to a Ruto Raila thing. They are the ones that are identifying the commissioners for IBC. So again, they can take us round and round. We will not accept that. Absolutely not. And I personally cannot stomach, a few people, probably 10 or 20 people, taking 55 million Kenyans captive. I won't take it. No, it won't happen when I'm alive. And so the other thing is this, that we have come to a point where you have those that come saying, because you are leaderless, I want you, we want to be your leaders. I don't think that it should be Kigame coming to the Gen Zs and saying, follow me, I can lead your movement. It is up to the Gen Zs, yes, to vet, but also to decide who to work with. I mean, they know, they can read, they have the data. So I don't think anyone should usurp that position and say, let's therefore go this direction. I think let the Gen Zs themselves decide. And so, and that includes me. I don't think it's right for me to come and say, because my issues resonate well with the Gen Zs, therefore I am their candidate. No, I can't impose myself on them. It's up to them to see, can Kigame represent what we stand for? And just for the record, and I hope that everyone on the space tonight can take this home, there are those who actually don't speak it, but they say, someone like Kigame cannot lead a country. How will he inspect the guard of honor? How will he see this and see that? Actually, I would say, first of all, the ability to see is part of our problem in this country. Our people are seeing too much. Everything they see, they want. And secondly, I want you to go back to Delano Roosevelt in the U.S. during the Depression years. He was paralyzed waist down, but he steered America out of that crisis beautifully. It was a difficult crisis. I won't even have time to speak about Kibaki coming to office on a wheelchair, or Tim Wanyonyi being voted one of the best performers, or recently Crystal Asige being voted one of the best performing senators. Maybe there's something about vision and the place of people in our hearts, those of us that live with disability, that this country can benefit from. But that having been said, I would like to say that it is not about us. It's really about training the young people to take over leadership. And I want to say that personally, with regard to value-led leadership, I'm already recruiting several Gen Zs, and I'll be having weekly sessions with them, just telling them, what does it take to run? What do you need? Because many people reduce it to money. It is not about money. Some young people have even been voted into office without money. How did Obama get into office? He didn't have all the money. So it's not about money. There's a place for money, yes, and we will not rule that out. But it's about the skills. What is government all about? What does it take to be an MCA? What do you need to know? What do you need to know about the rules that you need to be an MP in Parliament? And so it's about spending time with them and giving them hope, because I actually want as many as possible to succeed me and take up these ideas and become the next leaders, because we can't keep playing games with young people. No, a time has come when we must give them a place to be part of policy making, but also to organize. And I personally am going to ensure that whether I run for president or not, that we have the maximum number of Gen Zs in the next government.
Asante sana Reuben.